Welcome to this special late lunch with yours truly, Dragon Zero. This is gonna be a special late lunch event. First and foremost, I'm grateful, thankful that my rent is paid for June, my electricity bill is paid in full for June, half of my phone bill is paid in full for June, and have food I've cooked on a budget. Busy, keeping busy like a bee, without the stinging. Alright, kiss. Start loving, start kissing, hugging with consent and hygiene, brothers and sisters, because life is short. So, consent and hygiene, mutual understanding and love. My main message is make love tonight with consent, mutual understanding, and love, and hygiene, make love, kiss, hug. Because otherwise, what are we fighting to save for civilization, for this free world, North American collective of civilization, the collective of North American civilization, if not for love? Yours truly not perfect, far from it. Got issues, got vices, got lusts. Do not play it self-righteous, and unless it's technical or scientific or statistics, you'll rarely see yours truly reading from a piece of paper, unless it's of course reading from a book or information specialist might pass. Coffee with Dragons, work, where I have read, of course, from online Wikipedia or from books in my past. Coffee with Dragon events where I've read for hours or sometimes an hour, 2 hours, and 3 hours at a time. Yours truly, it is 4:04 p.m. in EST, Hawk Island, Montreal, on the east coast of the North American Civilizational Collective, and I'm thankful, grateful that I've been able to cook on a budget. I'm grateful, thankful that I've purchased. Yesterday, was able to afford purchasing bacon. Actually, purchased it Saturday bacon on a reduced price. Got $3 off, 500 grams, $4.99 from $7.99. So it was $3 reduced, almost half percent. I got the bagels at half price, actually 50% off, $1.99 for 340 grams, 4 big thick bagels. And got the salad also that I had the cucumber donated from my anonymous sister, and I've cooked for me and my anonymous sister on a budget. And gonna eat a lunch, discussing, meditating on what a special event we're gonna be listening to Jens Stoltenberg. Before a little bit of introduction, before listening, be silence and listening to Mr. Jens Stoltenberg. First and foremost, brother, I'm supporting, of course, world peace, and I'm calling for an immediate ceasefire, and I'm calling on the leaders of the free world to come meet yours truly, Dragon Zero, for a march, in steel-toe boots, barefoot, or perhaps not barefoot, but in running shoes if you can, leaders of the free world in steel-toe boots at the corner of Sherbrooke and University, right there, about 7 kilometers east that way from here. Sherbrooke is a street in Hawk Island, Montreal. University is another street. So the intersection at the corner of Sherbrooke and University, I am calling for the Dragon Zero World Peace Summit, which should be live streamed Facebook, Instagram, radio, telecommunications, Elon Musk, satellite, Starlink. Yours truly to world for a World Peace March Summit to implement my trinity of theories known as citizen integration theory, debt refusion theory, and democratic fusion theory, that of course I'm calling their implementation ASAP. As firmly as do have issues and lust and vices and get moody, get upset, do believe that my work of reading and theorizing and writing theories, the citizen integration theory, debt refusion theory, and democratic fusion theory, do firmly believe with all the little issues that do have, and I'm not perfect, far from it. Do not play it self-righteous. Leaders of the free world gotta read from a piece of paper. I understand statistics, economics, sometimes we gotta simplify, don't have all the answers, have questions. Encourage everybody to invest in their bodies. If you have no money to invest in the stock market, I didn't check the stock market today, was busy doing laundry, cleaning my room off some temple, writing a poem, and thinking about writing children's books, as I'm in the process of writing children's books. As a matter of fact, a neighbor just asked me how it's going. I said it's going well. Problem is I don't have the connections, the network of publishers. Did you hopefully you'll publish soon? I said, well, it's been 7 years. I have enough materials to publish, but the, of course, other support is of course going in parallel with my creativity and my what I'm good at, geopolitical analysis. Got some brain and some muscle, being on a fitness journey for more than few years now, 77 pounds down. Created my own workout training program, which calling for volunteers, looking on the app and online, east, west, north, south, to try to do it. The general integrated full body training system, and I am writing, of course, children's books. I've written a few children's books already, short children's books. I've written about 7, and have a whole series in mind, and developed, of course, orally, in oral communications, and as I have done with my creative ideas. So I'm looking for volunteer supporters at all levels for the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom's philosophy, non-sectarian and non-sectarian and non-sectarian philosophy, social, financial, economic, and geopolitical analysis. As some things do admit that I am mediocre, as other things I am average, I am other things that I'm so. For example, in certain sports, I'm a great dancer, but at basketball, perhaps better not try too much, or just try be on the sidelines, and better just say hub, and that's it. Applause. But I am a great dancer and a great poet and a great philosopher, independent artist, independent athlete, independent activist, AAA, plus the universal spiritual teaching student, because I'm learning every day with my non-sectarian spiritual philosophies. Is, of course, my belief in reincarnation from many past lives in ancient Egypt, by the Nile, being on the farmer by the Nile, feeding the priestesses and the workers to build those pyramids. Do not ask me, don't know how the pyramids were built. Do know that they're tombs and temples. Do know that they are tombs and temples. Do know that they are tombs, and not only tombs but temples as well. And then by the Nile, by the Euphrates in ancient Babylon, also farmer, trader, and in ancient India by the Ganges, many past lives, by the Danube as a Roman farmer, and Frankfurt on Main, many past lives, many incarnation from here, from North America, right on this 27th of June, 2022. I ask all willingly living to support the mission, vision, and philosophy of the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom thereof, and for the greater good, for the greater good, for the greater good. I am not perfect, far from it, but all that stated, do firmly believe that my trinity of theories applied here from the North American Civilizational Collective, the collective of North American civilization, do firmly believe that their application at this moment in time to create the two complementary and covenant and cooperative institutions to be integrated with all existing institutions and organizations, the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragan Army, to be of security and service integrated with all public and private security forces, and of course in complementary and a cooperative covenant way with the International Integrated Dance League, the Dancing Goddess Army, to be integrated, of course, have an integrated approach to dancing, and this International Dance League, meaning that it will be an all gender, all sexual orientation, all genders, all ages, all sexual orientations inclusive. That's what the International Integrated Dance League will be, aka the Dancing Goddess Army. We can have organized professional dancers, as I have been, and we'll call for cheerleaders' salaries in the NFL, for example, to be tripled, and to show that dancing can be a sport for world peace and can be also a combat sport with rules and regulations, and of course calling all to channel the aggressions, channel the violence towards constructive activities, brothers and sisters, towards working out, training, exercising. After this lunch, listening to Secretary General Jan Stolber, where of course go on a jog, run, or will work out, but I have to bring back my laundry, set up my room, and of course take a shower. Go out in the public, hygiene, open and carrying my disinfectant. Please increase in hygienic habits in the public, as now I'm in the private. Share my philosophy, my art, my LOVE, my struggles, and my writing of my theories and poetry, and everything that I do is my work. Although broken, my work is gold. Although broke, my work is gold. Although broke, my work is gold, and got trillions of kisses credited from the goddess who dances with her brother the sun, to make, create, and produce all fruits, vegetables, and legumes. By that dance that our brothers and sisters, farmers, harvest for us to make, upgrade, or maintain civilization. So I'm grateful for having this food to fuel me, to go bring my laundry, do the things that I have to do, shower, and write, continue writing my children's books, and working out and training and exercising, which is medicine and therapy for yours truly, and which have been and am and will advocate and call for the mass financing released across the North American Civilizational Collective, the collective of North American civilization, for my brothers and sisters to work out, train, exercise, into mass financing, the multi-millionaires, calling on them, and of course public-private partnership, Dragon Army, binational, international army, to support working out, training, and exercising, investing in the body with the philosophy The body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. So I've invested in it, I'm investing. Today and yesterday did the workout, which of course is airing now as I'm speaking on YouTube, with perhaps one viewer, one like. And I'm gonna keep on working, keep on doing what I love doing and advocating, and of course philosophizing and meditating, and have suffered, been depressed, been suicidal, been down and now rock bottom, been depressed, been suicidal, been down and now rock bottom, been depressed, been suicidal, been rocking up the rock bottom. And working out, training, exercising has been, is, and will be medicine and therapy for yours truly. And periods of struggle making the libraries of the city of Hawkeye, Montreal, my second home. I've read tens of thousands of books. I'm still reading, learning every day. In a parallel life, science, innovation, and technology, supercomputers, ICBM gadgets, telecommunications, satellites, and micro gadgets, microchips is my chosen path. In that parallel life, connecting with that parallel self, where science, innovation, and technology, and where supercomputers, satellites, smartphones, and everything to do with gadgets and science is my universe. Connecting with that parallel self gives me headaches, because sending me tens of thousands of pages of information, science, and technology. And I said, hey, I write poetry, one-page poetry, and my theories are 100 pages, not tens of thousands of pages. I said, if you're trying to connect with me, you're gonna have to read, and study. So every day I'm learning. Education is an ongoing. Don't know it all. Do know that Mother Nature is the greatest artist and scientist. That all fruits, vegetables, and legumes are made, created by the dance of the goddess with her brother sun, such as this wheat to make these bagels, of course, and all these. The cucumbers and the romaine lettuce, the cucumbers and the low romaine lettuce was made and created by the dance of the goddess with her brother the sun, who now rises and now sets, harvested by my brothers and sisters, farmers, who harvested these fruits. And everybody gotta eat that. I know, rich or poor, tall, great, small, Mr. Secretary of NATO, General, the brother Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, telling the parliamentarians of Canada to go give those farmers a massage and a hug and a washing of the feet ASAP, probably Canada first, July 1st, because you got our farmers. Food is holy, sacred, and divine. Farmers across the North American civilizational collective love you. Truckers love you. Thank you. Workers of Hydro-Quebec, thanks for I'm making this video now. Live streaming to be able to philosophize, do poetry, do art, everything that I do, thanks to the workers of Hydro-Quebec. Built 63 dams, 1963, to brains and muscle, via brains and muscle, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of workers who work for Hydro-Quebec to maintain those 63 dams, for me to do this video with clean, renewable, zero pollution emission of energy. And that keeps all the energy now east, west, north, south of this Hawk Island, this province, and 5 or even 6 states in the USA, as was born in the USA in past lives. So thankful, grateful for the farmers, workers of Hydro-Quebec, workers in sanitation in the city who's going to come today, pick up the garbage after 5, I'm going to put it out. And thank you, Mayor. Go give them a hug, a good hug to those workers, because love is action. So to Mr. Secretary General, calling all willing living to the Dragon, dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, and the implementation of my Trinity theory, citizen integration theory, democratic fusion theory, debt fusion theory, Mr. Jens Stoltenberg, go. It comes with a little pieces of paper to read from, of course. Brother, I assuming you didn't have to cook for yourself. Press conference of today. Jens Stoltenberg.
Good afternoon. Our
He's looking
NATO
down, reading from a piece of paper.
This week will be transformative, with many important decisions, including on a new strategic concept for a new security reality. A fundamental shift in NATO's deterrence and defense, and support to Ukraine.
I wish
now
we would have memorized at
for
least a bit
future.
of it and not read so much, since I'm
Our
assuming
new
you didn't have to cook for yourself as I did.
in an era of strategic competition.
I'm not perfect. Got issues, vices,
I expect it will make clear
and some things
that
are
allies
mediocre, average,
consider
even
Russia
useless.
as the most significant and direct threat to our security. It will address China for the first time and the challenges that Beijing poses to our security, interests, and values. It will also cover our evolving approach to a number of other threats and challenges, including terrorism, cyber, and hybrid.
There's the page.
At the summit, we will strengthen our forward defenses. We will enhance our battle groups in the eastern part of the alliance up to brigade levels. we will transform the NATO response force and increase the number of our high readiness forces to well over 300,000. We'll also boost our ability to reinforce in crisis and conflict, including with more pre-positioned equipment and stockpiles of military supplies, more forward-deployed capabilities like air defense, strengthened command and control, and upgraded defense plans with forces pre-assigned to defend specific allies. These troops will exercise together with home defense forces, and they will become familiar with local terrain, facilities, and our new pre-positioned stocks, so that they can respond smoothly and swiftly to any emergency. Together, this constitutes the biggest overhaul of our collective defense and deterrence since the Cold War. And to do this, we need to invest more. Today, we are releasing new defense spending figures. They show that 2022 will be the 8th consecutive year of increases across European allies.
Brother.
By the
Read
end
all
of
that
the
from a
year,
piece of paper.
they will
5
have
words, 6
invested
words, look
well
back down,
over
read 6 words, look back down at the
$350
camera, look back
billion
down at the piece of paper.
extra since we agreed our defense investment pledge in 2014.
Somebody else wrote
9
that.
allies now reach or exceed the 2% target. 19 allies have clear plans to reach it by 2024, and an additional 5 have concrete commitments to meet it thereafter. 2% is increasingly considered a floor, not a ceiling. We will also agree to invest more together in NATO for the benefit of our security. The Ukrainian government and people continue to resist Russia's brutal war of aggression. Their courage and commitment are an inspiration, and I welcome that President Zelensky will join us at the NATO summit. NATO and allies have provided substantial support to Ukraine since Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea in 2014, including with military and financial aid and training of tens of thousands of Ukrainian forces. All of this is making a difference on the battlefield every day. And since the invasion in February, allies have stepped up even more, with billions of euros worth of military, financial, and humanitarian assistance. At the summit, we will agree a strengthened comprehensive assistance package for Ukraine. This will include substantial deliveries of support in areas like secure communications, anti-drone systems, and fuel. Over the longer term, we will help Ukraine transition from Soviet-era military equipment to modern NATO equipment, and further strengthen its defense and security institutions. At the summit, we will also take decisions to continue adapting NATO, including with a new €1 billion NATO Innovation Fund to invest in dual-use emerging technologies. And on climate change, we will agree to cut greenhouse gas emissions for NATO as an organization. We'll also deepen our cooperation with NATO's closest partners. I welcome that Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the Republic of Korea will join us for the first time at our summit. Georgia and the European Union will also take part, and we will adopt new packages of support for our partners Georgia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the Republic of Moldova, as well as Mauritania and Tunisia. We also aim to make progress on Finland and Sweden's historic applications for NATO membership, while ensuring the security concerns of all allies are addressed. I spoke with President Dragan on Saturday, and I will meet with Prime Minister Andersson later today. I'm glad that President Erdogan, President Niinistö, and Prime Minister Andersson have accepted my invitation to meet in Madrid tomorrow. And today we are hosting another meeting of senior officials from all three countries here at the NATO headquarters.
There's
Finally,
no hugging, no
allies
kissing,
will discuss threats
no
and
dancing,
challenges
no
from the
working out
south.
training. Don't invite Dragan Zero or any
Recommit
of
to the
those
fight against
meetings.
terrorism, address the food crisis caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and consider our response to Russia and China's increasing influence in our southern neighborhood. Above all, we reaffirm that the transatlantic bond remains the bedrock of our security. Europe and North America together in NATO. And with that, I'm ready to take your questions.
We'll go to Bloomberg in the second row.
A bit too much reading, but
So much for the question, Natalia Drozdiak from Bloomberg. I just want to follow up on the meeting tomorrow between the leaders of Turkey, Sweden, and Finland.
I'm just gonna have
What do you expect
half,
from that meeting
and this
tomorrow?
other half I'm gonna have it
Is
later.
it still possible
'Cause
that Sweden and Finland
after my
could
workout, it's gonna
join
be my
the summit in
reward.
Madrid
After the
as
workout, or
invitees?
march, or
Thank you.
march, or workout, or marching workout.
So we have
thick
worked hard
Bagel and bacon.
since Finland and Sweden applied for membership to ensure that they can join the alliance as soon as possible. At the same time, we need to take into account concerns expressed by allies, and in this case, expressed by Turkey. And that's the reason also why we
You know,
have
action it.
intensified
You got time to
the
buy it
dialogue
for
with
$1
our
million
ally
until midnight.
Turkey and with Finland and Sweden
North
over the
America,
last
PayPal,
weeks.
shipping, all it is.
I spoke with President Erdogan on Saturday,
For the
and
dancing
I'll
goddess
meet
and the Dragon
Prime Minister Andersson later today. And then I'm very glad
Till
that
midnight.
President Niinistö,
$1
President
million.
Erdogan,
I'm gonna ship it tomorrow
Prime
morning.
Minister
$1 million
Andersson
versus
will
PayPal.
meet
Dragon
in
special.
Madrid tomorrow.
Bagel and bacon.
And accepted
Bagel
my
and
invitation
bacon.
to
Bagel
meet
and bacon.
on the
The
margins
dancing
of
goddess and the
the
Dragon
Madrid summit.
King. 1 million
The
via
purpose
PayPal.
of that meeting
And bless
is, of
so
course,
you
to
do
make
be able to do
progress
1,000,000
of the
push-ups,
accession
1,000,000
of
squats,
Finland and
1,000,000
Sweden.
hawks, 1,000,000 kisses with
I will
that.
not make any promises.
Mr. Stolberg,
but
you
I
didn't say
can
to the
just
NATO West
reassure
Side that
we
you
are,
love us.
working actively to ensure progress because the
I don't want to
applications
call
of Finland and
nobody in a
Sweden to
position
join
of authority who doesn't
NATO,
say love you.
they are historic.
That's from,
It will strengthen the security of Finland and Sweden.
that's for sure.
It will strengthen NATO, and it will be something that will contribute to stability across the Euro-Atlantic area, Europe and North America.
Nobody has authority over Dragons. You don't say love you, man.
The aim is to make
That's
progress,
straight leaders of the West Side.
and it's too early
Leaders of the free
to say
world.
what kind of progress you can make by the summit.
Not Dragon Zero.
The last row.
Not Dragon Zero.
Thank you for the question. Julien Gasparuto, France Télévisions. There are a lot of tensions around Kaliningrad. Do you think the threat is serious? Do you think that Russia could attack one of the Baltic states? And what could be the response of NATO if there would be an attack? Thank you.
Good question.
So NATO is there to protect and defend all allies, and we have increased our presence in the Baltic region. We have done that since 2014 with the battle groups, with higher readiness, with more air policing. But since the invasion of Ukraine, we stepped up further, and now we have more than 40,000 troops under direct NATO command, and most of them in the eastern part of the alliance, and many of them in the Baltic region. The purpose of this increased presence is to send a message that we are ready to protect and defend every inch of Allied territory, including, of course, Lithuania and the other Baltic countries. And by doing that, we are providing credible deterrence. And the purpose of credible deterrence is not to provoke a conflict, but to prevent a conflict, to prevent Russia or any other potential adversary from attacking a NATO allied country. And I'm confident that Moscow, President Putin, understands our collective security guarantees, understands the consequence of attacking a NATO allied country. It will trigger a response from the whole alliance. And to underpin that message, we have increased the presence. So that's the main message, is that we will defend, and by sending that message clearly, we are actually preventing an attack. Then, of course, we are concerned about the military buildup in Kaliningrad. We have seen that over many years, also with highly advanced weapon systems. That's also part of the reason why we have modernized our armed forces, our capabilities, and also increased our presence in that part of the region. Let me also add that what we now see is that Lithuania are implementing EU-agreed economic sanctions. And NATO allies welcome the EU sanctions. NATO allies have also imposed sanctions on Russia, and these sanctions are important because they ensure that President Putin has to pay a price for this reckless, heinous, brutal military attack on Ukraine.
We'll go to Frankfurt Allgemeine.
Thanks a lot. Thomas Kutschka, Frankfurt Allgemeine Zeitung. Secretary General, I have two questions following your introductory remarks. The first one, you said that we will, or NATO will, enhance battle groups in the eastern part up to brigade level. Does that apply to all the 8 battle groups or just to some of them? Question number one. And question number two, on common funding. You've made the case to double the common budget last year, and that was met by significant resistance from a few member states. Now it appears that you're almost there, so it won't be doubled, but almost the budget. Could you please explain why this has changed in the meantime, and how this is related to the war against Ukraine and the new posture at the eastern flank? Thanks.
First, the increased presence of the brigade level will be something we will do in some of the 8 countries where we today have battle groups. We don't have one size fits all. There are different needs in different countries, and we also need to see the whole regions as one and assess the total need for increased forward presence. But of course, this has to be understood in the light of what has already happened. Because since the invasion, we have doubled the size of the existing battle groups. For instance, Germany has increased their presence in Lithuania, UK increased its presence in Estonia, and Canada and other countries increased presence in Latvia. So more or less doubled the size of the existing 4 battle groups we had before the invasion. Then we have doubled the number of battle groups from 4 to 8. And then we have added in more troops and forces, both on land but also sea and air forces. So this is a huge and significant increase of NATO's presence in the east. What we are doing now is that at the summit we will take decisions that will be transformative for our deterrence and defense, that will lead to the fundamental shift in the way we organize collective defense in NATO. And that will be built on many elements on sea, naval, cyber power. But when it comes to the land element, the main message is partly to have up to brigade level forward presence. Germany in Lithuania is one example. I expect other allies to make similar announcements. Then it will be based on more forward deployed equipment, stocks, fuels, weapons, ammunition. And then it will be made up by pre-assigned forces in their home country, but these forces will train, exercise regularly in those countries where they are pre-designed to be deployed in times of crisis. And by doing that, we are fundamentally strengthening both our forward defense, but also our ability to quickly reinforce. It's quite, to move people goes quite fast. To move heavy equipment takes time, but with more forward deployed equipment, including also more forward deployed combat formations and more exercises, we will significantly increase our ability to defend and protect all allies also in the eastern part of the alliance. Then on common funding, well, first of all, I think we have to understand common funding as part of the broader efforts to increase defense spending. the big money will go to the national defense budgets. And we have an impressive story to tell. Back in 2014, when we agreed the Defense Investment Pledge, only 3 allies met the guideline of spending 2% of GDP on defense, and defense spending was also declining across Europe and Canada. Since then, defense spending has increased in all countries, and 9 allies now meet the 2% guideline, and in addition, some are very close to be at 2%. They are very close. And that would be, of course, the big numbers. But a part of that is what we spend together. And this is, of course, a reflection of the same challenges that has led to the commitment to invest more. But this is about spending smarter by spending together, investing in pre-positioned equipment, command and control, infrastructure, but also in support for partners. I will not go into the details. This is something which is now finalized as we prepare for the summit. But we agreed a year ago to do more together, and of course we will follow up on that when we meet in Madrid later this week.
Okay, we had Imedi.
Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary General, you said that the new strategic concept will describe Russia for the first time as the most significant and direct threat to alliance security. Does it mean that with this decision you will not, so it's not a space anymore for dialogue with Russia? It's not a relevant issue? And the question about Georgia, how NATO is going to enhance support for Georgia in this very difficult moment. You will meet our Prime Minister in Madrid, and what should we expect in the context of open door policy in the summit? Thank you very much.
So Russia has walked away from the partnership and the dialogue that NATO has tried to establish with Russia for many years. They have done so not least by the brutal invasion of Ukraine, a blatant violation not only of international rule, but also of all the documents and agreements we have signed with Russia to try to establish a framework for a meaningful dialogue with Russia. So the meaningful dialogue we worked for so many years, that's not on the table, that's not working, simply because of Russia's behavior. They have chosen confrontation instead of a dialogue. We regret that, but of course then we need to respond to that reality. And that's exactly what we do with the fundamental shift in our deterrence and defense, and all the other measures we take, and not least to provide support to Ukraine from NATO allies and NATO. Then, of course, there is a need to still have lines of communications to prevent incidents and accidents, and also at some stage hopefully be able to engage in some kind of arms control efforts. But the dialogue and the partnership we strive for, we have to remember that, for instance, in the current strategic concept agreed at the Lisbon summit in 2010, and I attended that summit as a Prime Minister of Norway, at that time President Medvedev of Russia participated in the meeting, and we agreed in the strategic concept, which is still the current strategic concept, until we agree a new one later this week. We state that Russia is a strategic partner. That will not be the case in the strategic concept we will agree in Madrid. I expect that allies will state clearly that Russia poses a direct threat to our security, to our values, to the rules-based international order. Then on support for Georgia, I think that if there's any lesson learned from the invasion of Ukraine, a close and highly valued partner of NATO for many years, is the importance of provide support now, early. That support sooner is better than support later. Therefore, I'm glad that NATO allies provided support to Ukraine, training, assistance in many different ways since 2014, But if anything, we should do more, and we should also do more for other allies which are vulnerable for Russian coercion, Russian attempts to meddle in their domestic political affairs. And therefore, I expect at the summit we will agree to step up political and practical support to partners at risk from Russian interference. We will help them to build their capabilities and strengthen their resilience. For Georgia, we could increase our support by building on the substantial NATO
Oh yeah,
Georgia
thanks
package,
for reminding me.
including in areas such as situational awareness, secure communications, resilience, and cyber. We also have the NATO training
Pick it
center
out
outside Tbilisi.
5 minutes.
We can step up the efforts there, and we can support Georgia in developing its own cyber capabilities and provide additional personnel to the NATO liaison
Yeah, no
office
problem.
in Georgia. So support for Georgia and other allies
5
that
more
are
minutes.
vulnerable
We're gonna
for
have to
Russian
take the
interference will
garbage
be a
out
key
in 5
message
minutes.
from
We're gonna have to
NATO.
take the
So,
garbage out. It's garbage day. Hakkailla Montreal here,
Spanish radio. Lady here. Yeah.
5 minutes.
Good afternoon.
Chores,
It's María Caro
work,
with Radio Nacional de
did
España. I
laundry,
would like
cooked,
to ask about
wrote a
Ceuta
poem,
and Melilla. If it's going to
meditating
be
now.
some inclusion of these two cities in the strategic concept that you are working in for Madrid summit. If that means that these two Spanish cities are going to be covered, are going to be protected by NATO by now. Thank you.
So Article 6 of the Washington Treaty defines the geographical scope of our collective defense guarantees, Article 5. And it defines it as the territory of any of the parties in Europe or North America or islands under the jurisdiction of any of the parties in the North Atlantic area, north of the Tropic of Cancer. That said, I think we have to understand that the issue of invoking Article 5 in our collective defense clause is a political decision. So it has to be taken by consensus by all allies in the North Atlantic Council, based ultimately on what would matter in that particular case. So that's as far as I can go when it comes to comment on any specific issues.
Beata Pałacka, Polskie Radio, Polish Radio, Public Broadcaster. Thanks for the question. Secretary General, you've just answered the question to my colleague from Frankfurt Allgemeine Zeitung that in some member states these battle groups will be enhanced and the security situation will be taken into consideration. So I assume as the real threat is from Russia, so these battle groups will be enhanced in Poland and Baltic states. But will there be just only a political decision by the leaders during the summit, or it will be up to the member states that send actually soldiers to these countries to enhance it? So when exactly will we hear that these battle groups are enhanced? And the second question, do you think that these Russian blockades of Ukrainian ports and over 20 million tons of grains blocked in Odessa, do you think it will come up during the summit? And is there a place for NATO to intervene? Thank you.
I'm absolutely confident that the appalling consequences of President Putin's brutal war against Ukraine, also on the global food market and food prices and grain export, will be addressed at the summit. Partly because this matters for NATO and also because many allies, or several allies, are engaged in different efforts to try to find a solution, both to increase the capability of supporting or getting grain over land out of Ukraine, but of course there are some logistical challenges, so the big capacity will be if we're able to open sea lanes and sea transport of grain. Allies are involved in different ways. I've spoken, as I said, with President Dragan, and Turkey is playing also an active role in trying to find a way to get ships to cross over the Black Sea and bring grain out of Ukraine. The easiest way to end this is, of course, for President Putin to end the war, because this spike in food prices is not the result of the sanctions, it's the result of the war. It's the war and the Russian blockade against Ukrainian ports that has led to the drop in the export of food, grain, and extreme consequences for food prices all around the world, and that's also the reason why this will be discussed and addressed both in the meetings but also in the margins of the meetings when NATO allies meet to try to support the efforts to find a solution to get grain out of Ukraine. So Poland is one of our biggest allies, and of course we already have NATO allies, and especially the United States already have a significant presence in Poland. There is now a process looking into how we can further increase the presence, and the whole idea of strengthening our presence up to brigade level is absolutely something which is relevant for Poland. Details will be decided as we implement those decisions at the summit, but I'm confident that Poland will see that NATO has and will increase its presence in different ways to strengthen our deterrence and defense also in Poland.
Okay. Swedish news agency, TT.
Hi, Victor Nemlin from the Swedish news agency. Coming back to Sweden and Finland, on a technical way regarding the process, is it now too late for Sweden and Finland to become invitees for the summit? And in any case, which meetings do you expect Sweden and Finland to take part in during the summit? Thank you.
So first of all, Finland and Sweden will participate in the meetings because they are already invited as close partners. So we will have a meeting with partners the first day, also on Wednesday, where Finland and Sweden will participate at the level of heads of state and government in a way regardless of where we are in the accession process. Second, we are working intensively on this issue to try to make as much progress as possible, as soon as possible. But since we speak about an issue which is of great importance for Finland and Sweden, but also for all allies, and in particular Turkey, which has expressed some specific security concerns, I will not give any promises or speculate about any specific timelines. The summit has never been a deadline, but of course the summit takes place. We have all the leaders there. We have the Swedish and the Finnish leaders there too. So that provides us with an opportunity that we should seize to see how much progress we can make, and that's the reason why we have been working so actively on this issue over the last weeks and days, and also why I welcome that Finland, Sweden, and Turkey have accepted the invitation to participate in the meeting in Madrid, and also that we have the meeting today at the NATO headquarters. But when different countries are involved in the process, no one can promise on behalf of the others if and when we reach an agreement. The only thing I can promise is that we are working as hard as we can and as intense as we are able to find a solution as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. This concludes this press conference. See you in Madrid.
Thank you.
Brother, Jens Stoltenberg. Appreciate less reading from a piece of paper, but I understand. Make love tonight, brother. Make love tonight, brother. Make love tonight. Dragan 0 out.